just talking to a mate of mine about a film I watched yesterday that I'd never seen before, but I thought I had and hadn't. But I knew what happened in it and I'd seen the ending already. So what film's this? Well, The Wicker Man. Never seen it before. And I watched it yesterday, so I just saw a mate of mine and said, mate, I watched a good film, 50-year-old now, The Wicker Man. Watched it last night, what a cracker. He's like, oh yeah, I've seen it, it is a good one. And then then he's like, well, actually, I don't think I've seen all of it. But I've missed the beginning, I've seen the end of it. Weird thing that about how television was once, where things get broadcast and you come home from the pub and turn something on and end up watching the second half of something and watching it to the end. And it seeming decent because you didn't see the first half of it. It's something that doesn't happen nowadays because of, the technology we've got. But once it could be half pissed. Oh, is there anything on the telly? What? Oh, the last 20 minutes is The Wicker Man at midnight. So I'm thinking, yeah, it's likely that we were in the same fucking pub and got home roughly at the same time when it was on and ended up having seen the last half an hour of it. And then in that context, you watch that and you're like, oh, this is good. It's like if you've sat through the whole thing, it's actually better because it's funny. So I says to my pal, I says, you should watch that. It's like, won't be hard to get hold of. It's like you watch the whole thing. It's like, you might find it real familiar. So it describes what it's like. It's like everybody's a cunt in this place. Every single one of them is a lying fantasist, sick fucking person who actually enjoys the fact that they're just total degenerates. They think it's fucking brilliant. They're all liars and they're all in on it. And truth doesn't matter. Reason doesn't matter. And facts certainly don't matter. My pal says, it's just like real life. And I'm like, exactly. You gotta watch it. He's like, you're just describing what the world is. Oh, yep. It's like, what a movie that is for holding up the mirrors to see. I got to watching that and I'm like, this reminds me of pubs I used to go in. Oh, groups of people, cliques. All of them up to no good. All of them telling lies. All of them telling lies all the time. Everyone's in on the joke but you. Put it to my mate, it's like when you're in a gang, they're like a weird clique and everyone's telling lies but you and everyone's lying on everyone else's behalf, and what's really going in is that these guys are a load of philanderers who are actually sharing women around and things like that, and it'd not be that cut and dry, but if the wives find out, these guys are going to lose everything. So the code of silence amongst these fellas as to no one ever splits on anyone over what anyone ever does means that you don't just get away with that, you can get away with just about anything else as well. I'm like, what, John? A Gnostic cult in the pub? Yes. Gnostic cults in the pub. A thing. Everywhere. Gnostic cult in the workplace. Yes! A clique. A sewing circle. A club. They know it's a lie. They know it's make-believe, but they all buy into it. Behind the woke smoke screen is all the degeneracy of the world. It's like, watch The Wicker Man. Got me thinking. The film pulls the rug. Even if you know what's going to happen at the end, it's still a surprise because of how they pull the rug. And then the crazy shit they say in justification as to where they think they've found something like gold, there's something like 1 in a million. It's like, well, nobody invited you here. You gate crashed this. You've come willingly. Wasn't just that he was a virgin, it was that he was a lawman. Had the power. You come here with the power of a king. And it's like, he's actually turned up and he'd be a poor detective because he's fucking flatly naive. But at the same time, what odds is there on going to a place to investigate a murder when the actual reports of the missing person is a trap? It was bait to just lure you to that place with the idea of a missing girl. As soon as you arrived, you were never getting off the place. They'd sat about, all of them understood what was going on. They were going to fit you up to believe that this girl had been murdered and that these people were actively covering up, and right up until the point they weren't. And then they were just flat out gaslighting, playing for time, building the Wicker Man to give a human sacrifice to their gods. Shit, they'd be flat out. They would be giving a blood sacrifice to the sun, and it'd be a totally selfish thing to do because it'd be a matter of they do it to feel better about themselves. It's superstition. So it's a completely selfish act, but they would say they were giving sacrifice to the sun. I'm watching it and weighing it up. It's like, imagine if a different cop, even a different cop on his own, like fucking John McClane, was sent to deal with these guys. It's like, the story wouldn't work. He had to be who he was, otherwise it doesn't go full circle. He was a meaningful sacrifice in that world of make-believe where you make your preoccupation, which is always a strange thing to me. You don't believe in God, you believe in other gods that are about as useful as praying to Wayne Rooney. And all you do is mock God, reaffirming his existence. And all then you do is medicate away or take action towards the guilt and the shame as to where, well, if everyone's shamed and everyone's guilty, who gives a fuck? This is hell. We're all degenerates here. You don't need your airs and graces around us. You can relax here. No one is going to judge you, being the thing that they're all most afraid of. So when he turns up and he says, this place is like, you're all degenerates. This place is stark raving mad. They'd be like, yeah, he's working and getting it. Song, isn't there? The Slade around the same time. Slade. Mama, we're all crazy now. Don't you know? We're all crazy now. It's not just me, Mama. It's fucking everyone. You just don't get it. Watch some more modern reviews of that of people who are quite a bit younger than me who've discovered that film and decided it was a classic 10 years since. And the number of people who are of the LGBTQ fruity persuasion who've done reviews of that film in their way actually cast the cop as the bad guy because he's judgmental. They can't get past it. So you get the woke gang watch the Wicker Man and they're like, that cunt deserved to be burned for the way he judged those people. All they're doing is what they want, a bit of sex, a bit of love. If that's their belief, that's their belief. Who's to go against their beliefs? Seriously, it's like I picked up on a few people who think that they're, you get these people who they've seen a movie and they own a pen. So they're suddenly a screenwriter and I can do better than them, so I'm going to analyse your work. Right? Those guys on the internet. I bet real filmmakers find them to be fucking totally annoying. But writers in the world who aren't as much as you think they are, right? Not as valuable as you might think they are. They'll be cribbing all your ideas off you because you're only attacking them. And fundamentally, they sell the pitch. They don't make the movie. They, in the end, won't have a lot to do with it. It's like these days, movie production. It's like the actors more or less write all the dialogue themselves, or would bring their own writers with them. Tom Cruise turned up to make a movie and it's like, this is Chris McQuarrie. Oh, yeah, he writes all my dialogue. What? Who was the actor? There was listening to a commentary on a film or like an interview about it. Which actor was it where he'd only read dialogue that had been written by John Milius? I remember it was, but it's like working on your movie, and it's like I don't like my lines. Do you mind if my guy can have a look at your script and rewrite my scenes, please? Can't remember who it was. It was one of the big guys. He would only do something if John Milius wrote all his dialogue. I'll remember it in a minute. But that's the thing. It's like the writer in the process. Nobody. The movie, when they start making it, what's on the page is never what it ends up being, ever, because it has to. You hire the best pre-visualization artists you can. They're the guys who get the movie made. So when you talk about who's an important person in film history, you say Ralph McQuarrie. What? Yeah, Ron Cobb. What? So yeah, because when you handed in your fucking script, your bullshit you've written, you'd get those guys, you pay those guys big money to provide the concept artwork as to what you might want it to look like. And it'd be their artwork that would decide whether you got the movie or not. You got the chance, and then they pay you 50 grand for your script, and they'd be like, thanks for that, you're done. And then you say, well, we're going to make the movie. Oh, right, when do I come along and have... No, we don't need you. We've bought your book. We've bought its title. We've bought elements of it, but we're going to make our own movie, because once we get to look at it, we're all going to look at your work and we're all going to see it a different way. And we're going to bring all these people together and it have a life of its own. And it all be dictated by what we capture in the lens, and then we're going to edit it together, and then if it works, it works, and if it doesn't, we're going to shoot some more till it does. But then we'll be doing something based on what we've shot and nothing to do with what you fucking wrote, mate. You are at a different point in the creative process, where the guy who carries around the fucking camera all day saying, oh, fuck you. Why? The actor saying, who talks like this? I don't. Who fucking wrote these words? Wouldn't it be better if I just said what I'd say in this situation? Well, what would you say? I'd tell him to go fuck himself. Well, say that. Go fuck yourself. Cut. Perfect. I didn't write that. That's not my line, but the audience is laughing. Fuck the writer and fuck the analysis guys who make these video essays saying that's bad writing. It's like, no, it's got nothing to do with the writing, mate. It's how it turned out when they assembled it. It's like, if the tone shifts a bit, it's because it was a different day. They ran for 3 days that they changed their mind about what the ending was, so they started to move in a different direction slightly, and then the studio got in touch and said, no, we're going to have to go back to the original ending because we've already built the fucking set. Okay, so we're going back to the original ending, and then you've got things that are a bit off colour and off tone that they've put in there because it works for continuity. And then you've got a plot hole, and it's like, no, it could be anything. It could be like COVID struck, and we had to completely rework what we were going to do with it. So these fucking twats who've got a pen and call themselves analysts, when they've got their hands on the Wicker Man, they're like, bigoted, judgmental cop. You're like, you're on the side of the cult here, aren't you? You can relate to them. You think the act of murder is terrible and heinous, but every other thing they do you permit. You're like, every other element of the way that community operates, you're all right with. When the whole thing is a narcissistic genius juice, adrenaline and dopamine driven double-edged sword of love, hate, madness and fucking elation. A place of hangovers, of high highs and low lows, driven by the emotional states of the people living in cloud cuckoo land who live there. Drinking until dawn and fucking everything under the sun. But they'll give it a pass right up until the point of murder. Murder, they're like, oh, it's bad that they burnt that guy. That was fucking horrific. And people will see that from fresh, not understanding what that film was. Why did they do that? They seemed like they were perfectly normal people. They just enjoyed a shag and liked to drink and had their own perfectly valid. It's like their religion is ever so similar to what the environmentalists are. In fact, it's the same, just with slightly different words. They may not be putting on the rituals, but they're fucking praying and giving sacrifice to the same old gods. Yeah, I very much enjoyed that, but it's a matter of, look, the sequel. Wicker Man, the sequel. I'm thinking about it, sequel, it's like, you could make a film out of the next guy who comes to find out what the fuck went on. And you could turn it on its head and it becomes something akin to Zardoz. Like, what? It's like, yeah, an exterminator arrives. And then I goes, already been done. What? Like High Plains Drifter. In its own way, it could be seen to be, because of the spirits at play, be when the big boss turns up to deal with them. High Plains Drifter could be seen as a backdoor sequel to The Wicker Man. It's like, watch The Wicker Man and then watch High Plains Drifter, when a lone gunman, much like our lone cop, walks into a very similar situation and destroys everyone in exactly the way that they destroyed others, turn their own weapons against them and annihilates all of them. And then there's a question in that movie as to the Clint Eastwood character. Is he a ghost? Is he an angel of a sort? Is he a devil? Like, you fucking decide. But it's strongly implied. He's the spirit of the cop you murdered. So it's like these people, right, in their superstition as to where they burn that guy in the, you can't get past this. Well, they burn that guy and he starts to shout, you are accursed. He curses them, right? His voice matters a lot more than theirs because that's why they're burning him. He is their demiurge. He's their enemy. He's like, oh, this is one of the God squad. We'll trick him into making himself an acceptable sacrifice to our pagan god. It's about us feeling better about ourselves, and he shouts out, he says, you be damned. And they burn him to death. So it's like, in their understanding of things, of spirits, of renewal, of reincarnation, of becoming one with, it's a matter of, he would get to haunt them for the rest of their lives. And then when fucky things happen to them as to where a modicum of vengeance is shown, well, aren't they going to blame the spirit of the guy who cursed them when they killed him? It's like, yes, they are. It's like, because the supernatural belief in the first place is what led them to murder. So it's a massive double-edged sword, when you start to do murder in the name of ritual. Leaves you fucking vulnerable. Like, massively vulnerable. This is part of the danger of having, joined a gang and become culpable. That's why you don't do it. That's the danger of it. It's like, once upon a time, it's like these were home truths that struck home. Why do I find myself in 2023 speaking these home truths about those who practice witchcraft and sorcery? And it seemed like it's new. It's because that's what the world is now. It's normalised. Isn't it? Normalised. You can't tell me these high priests of the woke, right, don't know that it's a grift. You can't tell me that. They don't know that. You can't tell me they don't know they're grifting. And then there are others who are repeating the words and being rewarded. But hey, you said the words. So your motivations are all fucked too. They're all about wanting to be rewarded by the cult with a moment of fame. With a chance, an opportunity. Fuck off. You're saying the words. Say the words and be rewarded. It's like high priests of woke. Reason doesn't work. Facts doesn't work. Don't work. The truth doesn't work. Doesn't defeat them. Makes no bearing. So it's like it doesn't matter. And it never works, so it never seemed to matter. It never mattered. Make-believe is stronger than truth. Truth has to be just wielded like a weapon to destroy what's fake. And otherwise, just know that it's not a be all and end all. It's a hammer, isn't it? It's like you don't use a cricket bat to swat a fly. It's the wrong tool. You can do it, but it's just the wrong tool for the job. And another one being, if you've only got a hammer, everything suddenly seems like a nail. And it'd be a matter of that truth hammer. It's not changing the world, some, because they don't. Those you're up against, they don't care. Oh, you're going to say, oh well, yeah, he's going with that, isn't he? Like the rest of them, just won't submit, keeps reaching for facts, reaching for the truth, whatever. There would be those in the world who would see that as a weakness. He just reaches for the truth. He tries to talk his way out of it with the truth. How quaint. See, fundamentally, the final solution to it is like Inquisition time, right? Inquisition time is the thing you come to. It's in history when people have come to the understanding that, hey, hang on a minute, we're up against a fucking big call here. They all know it's bullshit, but they're all going along with it because it keeps them in power, and they can all personally benefit from it. So they're keeping it going. They know. You can tell them 1,000 times it's a cult, and they're just going to say, yeah, we know. Fuck off. It doesn't matter. We don't care. We get to the kids before you do. We're always going to win. You don't matter with your truth and your reason. Fuck off. It's like you might be smart, but yay, you didn't see this coming, did you? So you're pretty stupid, aren't you? Naive even. It's like, the world is up against that. They know it's a scam. Now what? Now you're in trouble. The climate guys, they're going to push the green thing. They're going to run us into the ground. And you go to them and you take all the evidence in the world to say, hey. And they're like, what are you talking about? You fucking child. We know it's bullshit. But it's the means by which we've taken power. And you think we're going to give that up because of you and a few facts. You've got another thing coming, son. It's like, beat that. In the end, it's like you will inevitably work out there is only one way of doing it. There's only one thing that can happen. And it's like, what? It's like Inquisition. It's like, you need badass sorcerers to take them down. What? Yeah. You need badass sorcerers to take them down. It's like, well, what's badass sorcery look like? It looks like a lot of broken fucking noses and people's fucking ears twisted so much that they fucking come off in your hand. It's removal of fingernails and fucking toes and fucking strange fruit found hanging from trees to send a message to the fucking others. It's like, you're up against that kind of shit. And the only way to go against it is to actually go against it with its own medicine, because it can't handle its own medicine. But then you'll get those who will say, yeah, but we can't do that. And so, well, okay then, should we agree that we're not going to do that? We're not going to start an inquisition. Right? We agree we're not going to. It's like, all right, well, fucking give up now then, because that's the only thing that'll stop it. That's the only thing that'll stop what's happening. Full on inquisition. So you're not up for an inquisition then? No. Well, stop complaining then. It's like it's happened before. There are those who've done it. There are those who've set about on their own way doing it. We're going to take out the trash. We're going to drain the swamp. You know, if you actually wanted to drain the swamp, or you thought, hey, we need to drain the swamp, what would you need? Inquisitors. What? Inquisitors is what you need. Hundreds of them. Masked. Blacked up. Going out. Kidnapping people. And then them saying, you can't do this. This is wrongful arrest. This is kidnapping. It's like, yeah. We fucking know it is. Now what? Really? It's like that's what you're left with. You see it in other countries where a rebellion starts. I'm not bore you by rhyming off 20 places, but it's a matter of they get so desperate they rebel, and what do? Well, They start breaking the law in that regard. They start kidnapping and they start killing. And it's not a perfect way, but it's the only way. It's like, are you willing to sign up for that? No. Well, stop complaining then. See, I take it seriously. That's all I have really going on, isn't it? The old absurd world. My life ended years ago. So, it's like now all I've got is the larger struggle, and it's like, people talk, don't they, about reason and a meaning. It's like, I got as much meaning as I can cope with. I don't need any more. I can derive meaning from, with what I've got at my disposal, doing my very best to slow down the forces of evil. With a vain hope of knowing that they'll never be defeated, but understanding that this mission never ends. Then you never get any time off. Never. No time off. Never shuts down. So that the idea of being dead, you just think of it as like rest. Like, yeah. You think of it as your reward for being just perpetually driven down a path that you can't really veer off at all. So it's like, the idea of being dead is like, it stops. I'm like, yeah. You'd be like, yeah, that sounds alright. What, for this to be the end of it? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Alright. Yeah. To have a rest from all this bullshit. Never to have to put up with it again. Your dead doesn't seem like bad at all. It's far worse things than being dead. A dead is no more shit. No more punishment. No more fucking work. No more constraints of time. No more manipulation. No more collusion. No more tragedy. No more atrocity. So, seems like a really good trade-off. Being dead seems to me. Yeah, you'd be right. It'd be like, without time constraints, it's like if you are more than just an animal that's learned how to speak, it's like, we get to find out for sure, don't you? And it'd be funny regardless, whether it's true or it's not, whether it's an evil concoction from a lab, or it's something truly divine. It's like, eventually, it's like one may get to find out. And it'd be funny. But yeah, if you want to piss all over the old gods, right? There are older gods than them. You just have to know them. There are older gods than the gods of the woods and the trees and the older still. And it's like the god of your crop failed because you're a fucking crackpot, and what's happened is all those collected over the years. Volcanic nutrients that accumulated on this island, you have depleted them, so this place is now a barren fucking wasteland because you didn't understand that the resource you tapped into wasn't renewable because it wasn't indigenous. Something interesting has happened there to the soil and hasn't happened since. It's like you found an oil well of nitrate and it wasn't a very deep well. And it made the place fertile when it was tilled, when it was looked after, and then suddenly there's no more, and there's not going to be no more. Because you're trying to grow pears in Scotland, apples in Scotland. Science, God, will tell you why your crops have failed. But it's a matter of, oh no, that gets in the way of our shit. It's like that old God, paganistic, degenerated way of living. It worked perfectly, didn't it, when the fucking when the fruit was growing? It's like these gurus on the internet, like Stefan Molyneux. Might have seemed like a financial genius at one stage if you were on the Bitcoin wagon with him, because you're always making money. And then when the Bitcoin well dries, suddenly you're no longer really an expert anymore, because you can't just say crypto, crypto, crypto and always be on the winning side. Suddenly your money-making magic no longer works, because the well has run dry and the soil has been depleted of its excess nutrition. See, that be the God that come and fucks you, and that's older than that's older than the earth, isn't it? It's like, well, this is what happens when. The more you know, the more complicated it becomes. The lowest level of human sophistication is an understanding that it would be an understanding of blood, magic, and sacrifice, because of its sadistic, bloodthirsty, cathartic qualities, as to where people can enjoy that. If there's nothing better to do, that's what they'll sink their teeth into. Barbarism. Wouldn't it be good if we lived in a world so simple as to where, because there are times when societies were on the verge of collapse that did, who would think, well, we are dying in a fucking drought here. We've got a problem. We know that it will rain eventually, because it always has, but maybe it won't. Maybe the gods are angry. And then as soon as someone suggests it, oh, we have to make a sacrifice. Isn't that just about the fucking easiest way of just making it go away? It's too convenient, because it doesn't change anything. Because what you're asking for would have happened eventually anyway. And these be the ways of the magicians and the wizards. Well, they're not wizards. Sorcerers of old. I say they never went away. They just changed the language, and even distributed like pupils' versions of the craft. Gave them the magic words, gave the words power, and said, say these words and be unbeatable in the HR department and in the court of law. Say these words and you will conquer. Said the devil. I just made that up. Although it's stolen also from understanding why Christians go around with a big white flag with a big red cross on it. Fundamentally, it fucks with people. Fucks with animals too. What? Yeah, funny old thing. Everyone knows what that red means when it's used symbolically. We all understand. And there has to be, I'll just have to point to something as to magic, right? Magic in this world. Manchester United and Manchester City. The Guardian ran a story. Apparently, someone's upset that there are ships in the sigils, and it's like, well, that's the thing. It's because that's actually a sight you would see in Manchester once upon a time due to the Manchester Ship Canal. So a big ship in the middle of the city from the distance, you'd be in the middle of England. And there'd be a big ship there because the place could handle a big ship. So it'd be a sight to be seen. You know, there's them pictures of the Suez Canal where you see this super container like moving down. Remember, as a little kid, seeing a picture of my granddad used to have loads of them National Geographic magazines. When he passed away, they all came to us. We didn't recognise really just how valuable they were. Now they're not, because every image that's in a National Geographic magazine is just Google, but then you had National Geographic. I was looking at pictures of the Suez Canal as a little kid, seeing these great big oil tankers like sailing through the desert and being like, wow. Well, that was a sight that could be once seen in Manchester with the Manchester Ship Canal. So it'd be one of those strange places in the world where it's not uncommon to see factory chimney here and tall ship. So a ship going across the land, a common sight to be seen from the land. That's why it's there. Manchester Ship Canal and the traffic it did would be seen as one of the wonders of the world, it being that it was powering the Industrial Revolution in a profound way. And that's why there's a ship, right? But one of those clubs has got literally Satan, the devil, on its crest, and they don't give a fuck about that. They don't care about that. I mean, who gives a shit? The Red Devils. It's like, yeah, you know, terrors on a football field, like murder, play like the devil. It's like, you want the devil on your side on a football pitch. Football goes way, way beyond the notion of the devil. What are you talking about? Football is a far higher art as to where God plays football himself, loves the game. So does the devil. Every week, every game, loves it. The theatre of dreams. It's like Manchester United in its lore is an occult-powered. It understands that good and evil's there to be tapped into in that place. It's very esoteric. The Manchester United legend. Don't give a shit about that. They said there's a ship in your banner, so it's kind of racist. It relates to the age of slavery. It's like, no. It relates to the Manchester Ship Canal being quite a fucking sight, quite a piece of engineering, I should say, as well. A peculiarity unique to Manchester's history in this place. Well, they don't give a fuck about the esoteric language of the Red Devils. Do they? Don't give fuck one. Because that's all just a bit of fun, isn't it? Juju and voodoo are making a return in the world. Immigrant populations from Africa are bringing it with them. Big money to be made for big juju.